Guys, I've started recording for you.
All right.
Even though I'm obese,
You're not obese.
I'm obese and I'm puffy. So
You're fine.
So we are talking about now. We are talking. Yes, my quivering one pack.
Nitrogenous waste. Thank you, David.
Out of your reader, the reader was this one for this particular topic. Now, there are 3 nitrogenous wastes that you need to know, even though there are 4 nitrogenous wastes. Anyway, so the first one is ammonia, and ammonia is very, 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 very toxic. We use ammonia in hospitals, etc., to clean floors, to sterilize things, because what it does is it changes the pH of the environment and denatures the proteins in the cell membranes of bacteria, and it kills them. Because it changes the pH of things so rapidly, it's very good at killing life. Okay, if you were to be exposed to a high concentration of ammonia, you would probably die. Okay. But some animals do make ammonia as their nitrogenous waste. The cost to make ammonia is very little. A protein for the chemists of the world, from memory, it is RCO and then NH2, I think. I mean, that's a long time ago.
No, that's right. I have it here.
Okay. And this R group changes for all of the different amino acids, right? The NH2, that's the problem. So when you deaminate, or in the process of deamination, which it has been in your a question in your past papers before, they want you to talk about what the origin of the ammonia is. And by cutting that bond, you react it, and it becomes out as an NH3, and that's ammonia, and that's poisonous to cells. It changes the pH of cells.
Why do we cut that bond?
Well, your liver does, because it wants the R group, which is a carbohydrate of some description.
Okay.
So, if there is a process called autophagia, where if you have run out of carbohydrates in your body, you will start to burn muscle and fat. And autophagia means your body starts eating itself to find energy, and so then it uses the protein in there's a process called gluconeogenesis. So glucose new creation. You create glucose, a carbohydrate. You create new glucose by breaking down protein. The process is called deamination. But the problem with that process is that it creates ammonia, which is toxic to your body. Okay? If you're a fish, that's fine. So if your diet is protein, when you're breaking down the amino acids in the liver, you will create a lot of ammonia. And for fish, that's okay, because they live in water. We'll talk about why in just a second. But it's incredibly toxic, the most toxic nitrogenous waste there is. So the energy to make is very little, all right? It's very soluble in water. Okay, so it will dissolve in water instantly, all right? And the amount of water required to get rid of it is very high. So if you're going to use ammonia as your nitrogenous waste, you've got to have access to a lot of water, which is why fish use it, because they live in water. Okay? And it's passed out through the gills. It's incredibly soluble in water. It goes straight through a cell membrane. Okay? It can also end up in the urine. Okay?
Why do you need water to make it?
You don't need water to make it. To get rid of it, you need a lot of water. You need to flush it out with copious amounts of water because you don't want any of it lingering around because it can do a lot of damage to your cells.
I get it.
Okay, urea. When we deaminate our amino acids, we create ammonia, but we react it with carbon dioxide in the liver to make urea, and urea is CONH2NH2. So now we've got 2 nitrogens in the urea, and it's much less toxic. You will still retain some urea for the osmotic balance because it's a solute. It will attract water, right? But it's far less toxic. You can store this in your body for a little while without it being toxic. If it builds up too much, it'll be toxic. But you always have urea in your blood.
So it's not toxic.
It's not toxic. It's just not incredibly toxic. It is still mildly toxic.
Mild toxic. That's what you're
Okay. Still mildly toxic. So you can keep it in your body. You store it in your bladder for a couple of hours before you get rid of it. Some of it stays in your blood to keep the amount of water you need in your body. But because to go from here to here, it takes more energy. So it takes a moderate amount of energy to make. But then it's got so many benefits in that it's not toxic, not as toxic as ammonia, right? And you can store it for a little while before you have to get rid of it. Right? And it doesn't need as much water to get rid of. Okay? You don't need to be living in water to get rid of it. You can have, I'm sure when you've gone to the toilet, you'll see that most of the contents of your urine is water, but it's not litres of water. It might be a couple of 100 mils at best, but it's not a lot of water. So the things that use urea as their nitrogenous waste, they have no shortage of water, but they then don't really have an abundance of water. Okay, so it's that's like that in like temperate sort of zone sort of thing with plants. It's like the best of all worlds. All right, and mammals use urea, etc. Okay. Uric acid is the least toxic. It has 4 nitrogen atoms, so again the nitrogens are the problem. So we say it's non-toxic. So it can build up in the organism for a long time. Animals that use eggs for reproduction use uric acid because as the embryo develops, it's making nitrogenous waste, and it's going to be stuck inside this shell with this nitrogenous waste for, I don't know, a month or 2. So anything that uses an egg, so birds and reptiles, monotremes, use uric acid. Right? In fact, we use a bit of everything. We don't want to keep ammonia in our body because it's so toxic, but we do have some urea and we do have some uric acid. Uric acid can crystallize and form kidney stones or gout, which is 2 diseases with build-up of uric acid in the body. But it takes a lot of energy to make. But because it's not soluble in water and doesn't need water to be excreted, you don't need to store water. And if you're a bird and you're trying to keep your weight down, you're going to want to excrete your nitrogenous waste in the lightest form possible. That's why bird poo it's a semi-solid, I guess you would call it. It's a wet solid without being watery. So they do their poo and wee in one lot.
So it doesn't need any water to excrete?
It needs not very much water to excrete. We say it's excreted as a paste. But because it's a lot bigger than urea, it takes a lot more energy to produce. But its payoffs are you don't need a lot of water, all right? And that cuts down on the weight. But also reptiles don't have ready access to water, so they do it for a different reason, which is they don't have a lot of access to water. So they just want to make a nitrogenous waste that doesn't need a lot of water.
Are birds reptiles?
No, they're related to reptiles.
Birds lay eggs. Same as reptiles.
Birds do it because it cuts down on their weight and they lay eggs. It cuts down on their weight so they can fly. If they started to have anything that's too heavy, it would limit their ability to fly.
What about lizards?
Lizards aren't birds.
But you said anything that lays eggs.
Yeah, so lizard is a reptile.
Why do reptiles lay eggs if they don't need to be light to fly?
They appear to be less evolved than us.
I see.
So most likely when life was trundling along, I think I would say reptiles are certainly on the planet before mammals were. It was just an evolutionary adaptation to not having to carry around your young with you as they were developing, because already they're ectotherms, which means they can only run around in the heat.
Yeah.
But then if it's cold and you're pregnant, it's probably you're not going to escape from anything. So they lay their eggs and then they can leave them alone to incubate whilst going off to live their life. Because there's no maternal care if you're a reptile. Yep. It's just that if they ask you these questions, you'll just have to try and think to tie things together. I don't know what's coming up in this year's waste paper, but every year there are questions about nitrogenous waste. Without fail, every year has, whether it's a short answer or an extended response about nitrogenous waste. But quite often, if you have to compare anything, you would make a good criteria and put it in a table, but make sure you've got enough information in the table to get the marks. You can't write a word and then expect it to get your mark.
Yeah.
You actually have to say the knowledge. All right? All good there? And then at the bottom of that page, I had the problem with ammonia, pH. It changes the pH and denatures your proteins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Osmotic damage.
Osmotic damage. It can,
Cause black holes.
because it's a solute, it can attract water. All right? And also if it builds up, it will attract water in the wrong areas maybe. Then it also, because it annoys the body, it will make things become inflamed. And when they're inflamed, your immune system drops. Oxidative stress is one that you need to be aware of. It's at the very edge of your course. I'm sure you've all heard the word free radical. Yes, you eat some food and like if you eat a lot of fried food, it generates a lot of free radicals. A free radical is, they're called ROS. Okay? Yeah, this is why you eat antioxidants. All right, this is why you eat antioxidants to destroy the reactive oxygen. This stands for reactive oxygen species. All right, this is oxidative stress. The food that you eat can generate a lot of this ROS, and if you eat enough fruit and vegetables, it gets rid of the ROS. Okay? Ammonia is one of these ROS molecules. It causes damage to cells and molecules and can damage your DNA. Okay? In this context, the ammonia can cause a lot of damage to your cells functioning, to the enzymes in the DNA, etc. So you want to get rid of it. It's a really nasty chemical. Okay? The other instance that ROS pokes up in your course is with thermoregulation in plants. Do you remember the heat stress proteins? Heat stress proteins?
I haven't actually wrote about that. Can you tell me about the heat stress proteins?
Heat stress proteins are made by a plant and they will denature rather than let the essential proteins inside a plant cell denature. It's in your notes, heat stress proteins.
No, I didn't have it down for some reason.
There you go.
I don't know why.
So it's made by a plant and
Heat stress proteins.
And they denature rather than the essential proteins inside a cell denaturing. They sacrifice themselves